Thanks, everybody. My name is Jeff Sailing from StartUpNV. I'm one of the co-founders and the executive director here, and I want to thank everybody for coming out to Pitch Day. It's always a great day to pitch, and today we're going to hear from two awesome founders and great companies, Eric from Tribify and Scott from BlissDivorce. So we have one company that's seeking to get people together and another company that's seeking to help people separate, but in a nicer way.
Exactly.
So excited to hear from both of these founders and both these companies in just a minute. But before we get started, just a couple of things for any that are new to our program, either on the live session today or any of the recordings that follow. So StartUpNV is Nevada's statewide nonprofit startup accelerator and incubator. We operate 3 nonprofit programs for entrepreneurs or founders and 3 for-profit investment funds. Our nonprofit operation is supported by sponsors in the near term and by participating accelerator companies who pledge a small amount of equity to our nonprofit, which we all hope will be worth a lot someday soon. Now, we run these pitch days every other Wednesday where companies pitch for the Q&A that happens here and for entry into our accelerator programs, which comes with a $50,000 investment from our fund. It's added to by individual investors from our network. Plus, there's a matching amount from our SSBCI program with the state of Nevada. All of that often totals $150,000 or more when added all together. Now for the legal disclaimer. The founders that are pitching today for investment from our SEC-approved venture capital funds and our investor network, it's made up of more than 450 accredited investors. They're pitching to those people and to those funds. Members of the public are encouraged to attend our pitch days purely for educational purposes. The educational component is critical to our mission of creating, educating, and growing Nevada's startup ecosystem. The pitches today or in any of our public-facing programs are not, I repeat, not a general solicitation for investment in any specific company, nor is it a solicitation for our investment funds. For information on our programs for entrepreneurs and accredited investors, check us out online at startupnv.org. Now, our nonprofit work with entrepreneurs and the general public that has an interest in startups and investing generally wouldn't be possible without financial help from our sponsors and supporters, the City of Las Vegas, the Nevada Governor's Office of Economic Development, or GOED, as we call them, Glassboard Technologies, and KPMG. We appreciate the help of our corporate and government sponsors provide. If you are someone or know someone who might like to help with financial support or in-kind services, please introduce me or my colleague, Andrew Baca. Just a couple of more notes as we get started. So first, you probably have already heard and seen that we are live on YouTube, and we are also recording this session. At the end of all of this, we create 4 recordings that will live on our YouTube channel. 2 for each company. 1 that is just the company's pitch from the time the founder introduces themselves until they say any questions. And each founder today gets 10 minutes to pitch. At the end of 10 minutes, you'll hear an alarm. And when you do, if you do hear that alarm, if you do end up getting to 10 minutes, please wrap it up within 10 seconds or so we don't have to mute you. We don't like doing that, but we will. Questions for all of us who are participating go into the chat. Maggie consolidates the questions and asks them. We get through a whole lot more questions that way. After 800 plus pitches, we've learned that this is the best way to ask and deal with questions. So please help us out by putting the questions into the chat. Founders, don't worry about trying to read the chat. Try to keep up with the questions. Maggie will ask them to you. So if there are no other questions or announcements, Maggie, I think we're ready to begin.
Well, we have an announcement. We're going to have Scott go first.
So Scott, there's our first pivot for the day. I know you were expecting to go second, but surprise, you're going to get to go first. So why don't you throw your slides up there, and as soon as we see them, I'll stop yakking, make one last introduction, and let you have at us.
All right, I'm Scott Seidowitz, the CEO of BlissDivorce, and it's great to be presenting to a hometown crowd. Very unusual for me. We also have our Chief Technology Officer, Dan Hirsch, joining us from Argentina. So I'd like to start by asking you to imagine a large industry. Let's say it's $25 billion in annual sales. Now, this industry has been doing things the same way for more than 200 years. There's been little changes around the edges, like using spreadsheets, but fundamentally, the system hasn't changed for hundreds of years. What's worse, there is not only high consumer dissatisfaction and pain, but families are literally being torn apart by a traumatic system that benefits no one but the current competitors. It sounds unbelievable that a market like this can exist in this day and age, right? But without exaggeration, I'm describing the divorce market. And that's why BlissDivorce is looking to disrupt it, not just to build a large business, but also to spare families from the emotional and financial trauma of the current system of divorce. So I'd like to share with you how we got started, why this market hasn't changed, and the breakthrough technology we've developed to disrupt this backwards industry. Let me start briefly with LegalZoom, not because they recently put legal tech on the map with a $3 billion IPO, but because that's where the idea for BlissDivorce came from. When I was a consultant to their C-level team, I saw divorce was the one market that they couldn't figure out. And that was because LegalZoom is a documentation company. But the problem in divorce isn't documentation. It's getting two spouses under the most trying of circumstances to reach an agreement. And that's the idea behind BlissDivorce. We recognize that if we could use technology to help people reach an agreement instead of lawyers, we could completely disrupt this market and do a lot of good. So let's take a look at the market first. There are three key characteristics. First, it's big. There are 1 million divorces per year. Second, it's recurring. Every year, you have a fresh inflow of new customers, no matter what the business cycle. And third, it's fragmented. Services are literally delivered by tens of thousands of small local providers. There's no Amazon or Microsoft to defend this space. This market is ripe for the picking. Now let's take a look at how these small local providers or divorce lawyers deliver services. As I've already mentioned, it hasn't changed in hundreds of years. You still hire opposing attorneys who fight things out. The attorneys have incentives to stoke conflict and drag out the process. And there's been little or no innovation. Everything is analog. So what's the result? Divorce is obscenely expensive, time-consuming, and painful. In fact, an Ohio State University study found that divorce destroys on average 77% of a family's wealth. No one wins but the attorneys. So huge market, high dissatisfaction. Why hasn't anyone disrupted this market? There is a barrier. More than 70% of divorces involve some kind of disagreement that spouses have to work out, even if things are amicable. But existing online dispute resolution systems are only designed to resolve monetary disputes, not the kind of relational disputes that arise in more than 70% of divorces, like what to do with the family home, or what should the child custody and visitation schedule be. That's why BlissDivorce developed the first generation of relational dispute resolution technology, designed specifically to handle the kinds of relational disputes that come up in a divorce without any human involvement. Our technology deploys three strategies. First, dispute avoidance built into our user experience. Second, expert systems designed to resolve common, predictable disputes like community versus separate property. And three, sophisticated value attribution tools at the end of the process. They use techniques like forced ranking and discrete choice modeling to identify compromises both spouses will accept. We did a lot of experimentation with this technology, but we truly couldn't know how it would perform until we got into the market and used it in real cases. The way we did this and got to market quickly was to launch an MVP and fill in the gaps in our capabilities with our mediator. We also improved capabilities as we went. In our pilot market in California, we pay a mediator $3,000 to review every case. To be clear, this is not the business model we plan to move forward with. It is what we needed to do to get into the market and learn. And we learned an incredible amount. Most importantly, we've learned that our technology works. With 53 paid cases under our belt, the technology succeeded in resolving disputes without mediation in almost 60% of cases. The remaining cases required only 1 to 6 hours of mediation. And let's be clear, these are not cookie cutter low-end cases. The average asset size, as you can see here, is just under $1 million. Also, importantly, we cut the time of the divorce process by upwards of 90%. And of course, we cut the cost way down. So if this was just our pilot market with a beta of our MVP technology, let's talk about our plans for moving forward. First, our business model. Now that we know our technology works, we are already in the process of pivoting to a business model in which we only use mediators on an as-needed basis, starting with just the 40% of cases that need them, and we will drive that down over time. This makes our unit economics far more attractive. Let's take a look at how we generate revenue. Of course, there is a fee for using our platform. It is transactional revenue, but you can build a pretty good transactional business, even though it's not recurring, as these companies all have shown. But we also have multiple sources of recurring income. First, there are many support services required to handle the life-changing experience that is divorce. Services like name change, house sales, wills and trusts, even online counseling and dating. Providing these services during and after divorce generates significant affiliate income. Second, 50% of divorces require modifications. Our subscription service covers these changes, as well as providing a co-parenting app and other services. Finally, we are in the process of piloting the white label use of our platform with law firms, allowing them to much more efficiently handle divorce cases. This will be on a subscription basis, generating recurring B2B income. Now we generate this revenue. Now to generate this revenue, obviously, we need an efficient, repeatable customer acquisition strategy. Based on our experience in our lead market, as well as our founding team experience with similar businesses, such as TurboTax and Invisalign and LegalZoom that displace human experts, we have a proven customer acquisition model. We know the best practice strategies at each step of the funnel. At the top of the funnel, we build our brand through PR, SEO, and targeted entry points. In the middle of our funnel, we know the exact content and reassurances to move customers from consideration to purchase. And we learned that we need an empathetic sales specialist at the bottom of the funnel to close the sale. You can see our model here. So proven, repeatable, and efficient. With a customer acquisition cost of $600 to $700, that leads to an LTV to CAC ratio of 6 to 7 times, which obviously is very attractive. Now, when you have these kind of unit economics, it doesn't take a lot of cases to get large sales numbers. With very modest penetration of our core target, or SOM, that's couples 30 to 50 years old, 75 to 300,000 in income, and up to 2 million in assets, we reach 160 million in sales pretty quickly. And there's a huge upside through expansion into other legal verticals and other geographies, as well as B2B revenue. I guess the question of can we pull this off might come up, and I'd like to share with you an exceptional team that is more than up to the task. My background starting at MIT through P&G and into my own consulting has been in new products and brand positioning. I also have experience with one startup that has had a successful exit in the Vegas market, by the way. Dan Hirsch, our technical co-founder and CTO, was my client at Intel, where he managed a team of more than 100 people. He has experience not only in the corporate world, but also in academia and 2 startups. He's assembled a high-performance engineering and UX team in Argentina that is not only highly skilled, but also highly efficient. We're running out of time, so I'll just mention we also have phenomenal key advisors from legal tech, the legal world, as well as online dispute resolution. We are ready to bring our platform out of California and expand beyond bring our platform and expand it beyond California. To do this, we need to expand our engineering resources, fund marketing, and professionalize all the functions that have been handled on a bootstrap basis. We are seeking $4 million on a $12 million pre-money valuation. Up to this point, we've raised approximately $1.5 million in commitments, and we would love Startup Nevada to join us in disrupting this market and saving families from the trauma of the current system. Thank you.
Yeah, great job, Scott and Dan. We're going to be back in 2 weeks with another pitch day with 2 additional Nevada founders. Thanks a lot.